Do you sometimes sit down and wonder how your government spends your taxes? I have an answer for you. Governments spend vast amounts on state projects in an attempt to improve livelihood, attract tourists, or just for prestige. Not every project turns out to be a success. Some outrageously expensive projects have failed in many, if not all, countries in the world. In today's video, I will tell you about some of the most expensive megaprojects from around the world that were abandoned, significantly delayed, remain almost empty to this day, and cost way more than the initial estimate. As is the norm, ensure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when more such videos come in. And if you find this video interesting, do not forget to like it by hitting the thumbs up button. So let us get started. The forest city of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The controversial megaproject of the forest city of Kuala Lumpur is considered among the most useless projects of all time. To begin with, the forest city was just overambitious. It was too futuristic to achieve, almost similar to the work of art we see in science fiction movies. And to make matters worse, the city was politically challenged and had no future of succeeding. With all these factors playing to bring the project to its knees, not even the billions invested in it could help complete the project. The project received major funding from China. Although the city was meant to serve Malaysian residents, most Chinese tycoons who could not afford the soaring prices of apartments in China rushed to occupy Forest City. By the year 2019, over 80% of property owners in Forest City were Chinese. The influx of Chinese occupants in Forest City caused a public outcry. Most opponents of this project referred to this state of affairs as modern-day colonialism. Additionally, the prices of apartments in Forest City were almost unaffordable to the average Malaysian. With this in mind, less than 500 people were actually living in the residential developments. The number is too low considering the fact that the city was designed to accommodate over 700,000 people. Brazil's controversial stadium in the rainforest. The 2014 World Cup hosted by Brazil is one of the most famous World Cups in football history. For a country so much obsessed with football, the event presented a big deal for the country needed to undertake several renovations and construction projects to be ready for the event. Note that Brazil needed to build 12 stadiums and renovate some. These massive renovations and construction projects would cost the country about $11 billion. Overall, the project did not make any economic sense. But one construction project that caught the eyes of the public was the construction of the Arena de Amazonia. The construction of the stadium took 4 years to complete and cost $250 million. The first to raise eyebrows was the location of the stadium. The stadium was remotely located, and this made construction difficult. Most materials used in construction were shipped from Portugal. But why do I consider this project useless? With all the money spent on constructing this project and high transportation costs for moving construction materials, the stadium has offered too little value. Sadly, the designers and project stakeholders had a narrow view. The project has generated very little revenue, having hosted only 4 matches in the World Cup. The revenue this stadium has generated is not near to the money used in constructing the stadium. The stadium has been used for very few significant sporting and revenue-generating activities, including the 2016 Olympic Games. Interstate H3 Hawaii. The Interstate H3 was a planned, breathtakingly scenic highway in the Aloha state of Hawaii. The 26 kilometers long Interstate H3 passes through one of the most stunning landscapes in the world. In fact, the landscape is so stunning that there were genuine concerns about motorists stopping and creating traffic hazards. However, the highway remains as controversial and useless as it is beautiful. The project was first proposed in 1960, with defense considerations in mind, as the highway would connect the Marine Corps Air Station on the east coast to the Pearl Harbor Naval Base on the south. No sooner had the announcement of the project been made than controversies arose. Environmental groups resisted the move taken on the project, as well as native Hawaiians who expressed their concerns over the massive urbanization the project would bring. Environmental hurdles and state laws at that time delayed the execution of this project. 26 years later, the environmental hurdles were removed and state laws were reviewed to clear the way for the commencement of the project in 1989. In 1997, the highway was opened, almost 37 years since its proposition. The total cost for construction was $1.3 billion, which is about $50 million per kilometer. This is the most expensive cost per kilometer in the world. But despite the enormous budget, this beautiful project is of little value to most people. Most critics consider it a road that leads nowhere because the defense considerations of the 1960s are no longer relevant today. Moreover, the highway has no direct downtown to Honolulu. Then there is the issue of native Hawaiians who have refused to use the highway to this day. They consider the highway to be cursed, since many religiously significant and cultural sites were destroyed to pave the way for the highway's construction. Although the Interstate H3 Highway is considered an achievement as far as megaprojects are concerned, most Hawaiians consider it a useless project that adds little value to them. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Spain. Spain is among the most beautiful countries to visit, and that was the key consideration when the issue of the Ciudad Real Central Airport project was proposed. The airport was tipped to be the go-to destination for holiday travelers in Spain and Europe at large. The motive behind the construction of this project was to make it a perfect alternative to the heavily overcrowded airports in Madrid. One of the most outstanding features of the Ciudad Real Central Airport was its long runway, which became among Europe's top first longest runways. The airport had the potential to serve over 2 million customers every year. This is a relatively low number, especially compared to Madrid Airport's 70 million passenger capacity. Expansion plans were, however, in motion to boost the capacity to 10 million. So when the airport finally became operational in the year 2009, the $1.3 billion spent on constructing the project might have seemed a bit justifiable. But things went south for the airport in the year 2012, when the company behind the project's construction filed for bankruptcy. The problem started with the project's location. Although it was called the Central Airport, it was not central in any way since it was located 200 kilometers away from Madrid. With such a location, most travelers would avoid this airport, as they would have to travel several hours from the airport to Madrid. Big airlines also had preferences for conducting their flight operations from the capital. With all these problems playing in unison, the first year of the airport's operation saw its reduction to a single small-time airline. With no significant airlines and with most travelers avoiding this airport, it had accumulated $350 million in debt as of 2012. Unsurprisingly, the airport went under receivership and was put under auction in 2013. To make matters worse, the airport was popularized as an abandoned location by Top Gear, a popular British TV show, in 2014. After several auctions fell through, including the outrageous $12,000 offer, the airport was finally sold to new owners in the year 2019. Yucca Mountain, Nevada. Nuclear energy is one of the most delicate environmental concerns, although the issue is not mentioned as much as other environmental concerns. It should be noted that nuclear waste could be deadlier than anything else if not stored properly. In the 1980s, a U.S. authority set out to find a permanent solution to address the issue of nuclear waste disposal. In 1987, Yucca Mountain in Nevada was identified as the ideal spot for this task. The reason is that the spot was away from the population, yet close to most nuclear testing sites in the U.S., and so a plan was drawn to deposit all nuclear wastes in the U.S. in a tunnel complex about 300 meters under Yucca Mountains. However, various concerns were raised over the site. First, people argued that the site ran the risk of contaminating nearby water sources. Despite such opposition, the project won approval in 2002, and the Department of Energy resumed construction. The project was later stopped in 2010 by the Obama administration when the government deemed it unworkable, but a federal court ordered its resumption just 3 years after it was halted. Over $17 million have been spent on this project, and a lot of energy has been spent to bring this project to a living reality. However, despite all that, this project has never been used, and neither are there hopes of it being used for its intended purposes. This is it on the list of the most useless megaprojects in the world. Do you think that any of these have a shot at being useful in the future? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.